Bleav in Everything Auburn is brought to you by Bet Online. The last of the major pro sports league kicks off this weekend, and Bet Online is your top spot for all your NBA action this season. And with MLB postseason, NFL, and college football in full swing, Bet Online is the number one source for wagering, news, odds, trends, and predictions. You can get everything NBA at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access for every sport anytime. So head to Bet Online today to get in on the action, and don't forget to use promo code Bleav to receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That is BLEAV. Bet Online, where the game starts. You good, Jay? He's
Hey,
knocking stuff around.
I know. I'm just over here moving stuff. The screen is shaking, and gosh, my bad, people. That's just
Okay.
my nerves just a little shot. We was 14-14 first half, and third quarter just had so many opportunities, and
Oh no, we're still frazzled.
the game just kind of got away from us a little bit there, and I'm just still in shock waves a little bit. That
What is happening?
yeah, just
War Eagle, everyone. Welcome in to Bleav in Everything Auburn. Taylor Davis, Jason Campbell, up to our usual antics, but welcome to the podcast, everybody. Hope you have had a great week since we last spoke. Unfortunately, it included another Auburn loss, and as Jason said, it certainly was within reach. Tigers ending up leaving Jordan-Hare just 28-21 loss to Ole Miss. So we'll get into all of that. We've got another SEC game ahead at home as Mississippi State comes to town. They too are in a difficult season and struggling to find some offensive continuity, have had to rely heavily on their defense. So some very similar storylines here. Speaking of similar, if you're not going to be at the game this weekend and you want to catch either radio or television, you will get us either way. Jay and I will both be on the coverage for the game this weekend. I will be on the television broadcast, sideline reporter for SEC Network. Jason, of course, color analyst as always on radio. So we will both be covering the game this weekend, which is so cool. That has never happened before. So I'm super excited to be back on the plains and for both of us to cover the same game. I think that'll be so cool.
Yeah, that'd be real cool. And you want to, tune in every now and then. If I know y'all would prefer to listen to Taylor and the squad, but just put me
Please.
on Facebook Live sometime, and just just look at the screen at Facebook Live, Auburn Sports Network. You'll see me. But I
You
know
can get 'em
y'all.
both.
Yeah, but I know y'all want to listen to the money, so listen to the TV aspect. But every now and then, just have both on so you can hear both of us talk about the game.
There you go. They'll get us both. I think that's super cool. But
man.
Look, I mean, Jay, it's tough to come on here and try and spin the same thing in a different way, which we kind of feel like we have to do. But the story of the season is the story of the season, and I don't think no matter how you slice it, that's going to change. And the narrative was the same this past week as it's been in weeks prior, and it's why, unfortunately, people are getting very frustrated. I think it's more about what we've talked about on here a few weeks. It's the way in which some of this is unfolding. It's not just the results, it's the way we're getting them. The boos were substantial when we brought in Holden to attempt a double pass trick play as if we're even successful on single pass plays. And there was one blocker that was shoved to the side. Holden gets sacked, sets up a 3rd and 19, and we have a run play up the middle with Jarquez for 4 yards. That's when people got frustrated. And it wasn't when we lost. Heck, that was still in the third quarter. It's frustration with a lot of these decisions. It's frustration with not understanding what even is driving this thing right now. We're getting illegal substitution calls because we're still rotating these quarterbacks at a ridiculous rate. So I don't think that we can shy away from that aspect of this, Jay. And when you look at this offense, that certainly is going to have to go back to the drawing board in a multitude of ways in the offseason. But to close this season out and to try it, we still can very much be bowl eligible by the end of this thing. This week is a must win, you feel. But Another week of offensive just mess. Talk to me a little bit about what you saw and kind of what you were experiencing being there in person.
Yeah, definitely a lot of excitement. First and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out to the Auburn fans. Y'all definitely showed up and showed out. It was a
It looked
great
amazing.
atmosphere. It was crazy. It was energetic. All the things that we expect in a night game in Jordan
Mhm.
Hare. In Jordan Hare. Somebody got on to me for saying that. So, expect it was a great night game. And the thing that I took away the most was we got to be more patient offensively.
Okay.
Like reason I say that is early in the game, we got the run kind of going. We was able to break a few. Robbie starts the game off, but then immediately we go into the quarterback rotation. So, and then after that standpoint, you come out after halftime. It's early in the third quarter, and Ole Miss gave us every opportunity to take a lead in that game. They
Yep.
missed the field goal because they weren't able to attempt it from a high snap. You know, Dart threw a ball out of bounds on a wheel route that was completely wide open. So
Mhm.
we caught some breaks right there. That's a 10-point swing. And we kept getting the ball at the 40-yard line, the 45-yard line, right almost at midfield 3 times in a row. And we weren't able to do anything with those drives. And at the time that we threw the trick play, to me, that means we became very impatient. So we said, let's just do something wild.
Yeah.
And we decided to try a trick play, and we know losing yardage, and it put us behind the sticks. And then at that standpoint, you just only knew that our defense could hold Ole Miss offense for so long. They scored on the
Mhm.
first 2 drives. After that, our defense settled in, was playing really good defense at that time, had them to punt numerous times in a row, giving us an opportunity to take a lead. And you just know, Taylor, at some point in time with a high-powered offense like that, our
They're gonna
guys gonna
figure it
get
out.
tired. Yeah, our guys gonna
Mhm.
get tired, and they're gonna bust a few plays. And that's what happened
Yeah.
to us early in the fourth quarter. Guys got a little tired defensively and everything, but we got to be patient enough to say, hey, if one guy's rolling offensively, just stick with the one guy.
Yeah.
Just let it go, let it roll. Let the guys get into a rhythm. Let the receivers, the running backs, the O line get into a rhythm with one guy. And when you get to those certain situations, like okay, if it's not 1st and 15, but it's 2nd and 7, let's not do something out the norm to make it 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 19 like we did with
Yeah.
Holden. At that point in time, there was no reason why sneaking Holden in the game was going to change or shock anyone because when they saw him come in the game, he hasn't played since probably the Sanford game or even earlier than that, the UMass
Yeah.
game. And you throw him in the game right there, the receiver position. Okay, ding ding. Everybody knows he's out there for a reason. It's probably gonna be a double pass.
Right. It
Uh,
was also tied at that point, so I don't
right.
think you throw all of these metaphorical Hail Marys at that point. It was the 5
Mhm.
minutes left in the 3rd quarter tie ball game. What why?
Right, and that goes back to being impatient,
Yeah,
like, we gotta
that's a good
become
point.
yeah, we gotta be more patient, and
Yeah,
understand, "Hey, you're in the game." You're right there, we have the ball, so they don't have the ball, we have every opportunity to go up and take a lead, so
right.
we just gotta be in that position, and when it comes to the quarterbacks for me, Robbie is kinda used to the situation of playing with 2 guys, he kinda did that a little bit with, what's my guy that just left?
TJ?
TJ Finley. He kinda did that a little bit with TJ Finley, so I'm pretty sure it still bothers him sometimes too, because he would like to get into a rhythm. But I
Mhm.
feel like Holden hasn't ever participated in anything like this. So I think for him, it probably does bother him more because, a veteran guy having to change like that in and out, it can mess with your mindset. It can mess with your rhythm a little bit. So,
Yeah,
I think that's why I say they just need to kind of give the guys a little bit more opportunity and be patient with one guy and just let this thing roll for a little bit, whether it's Robbie, whether it's Thorne. Yeah, a certain situation may say, hey, this guy go in, that guy, but you saw Taylor in this game. We'll give 2 situations and then you can move to the next. Right before the half, Robbie has to learn this as well. Peyton did the same thing in the fourth quarter. If you got the ball, you have a chance to take a lead, and there's a certain amount of time on the clock, and it's a 2-minute drill after sudden change or turnover on downs or whatever it is, what's the first thing a defense expect you to do offensively? Is to take a shot. So if a coach is going to dial up the shot and say, hey, I'm calling a deep route here, but you got to protect me that if we don't get the coverage we're looking for, just check the ball down so we can
Yeah.
continue moving. First play, Robert just chunks it deep right into double coverage. It gets intercepted. You know, I like, man, that's something that got to be emphasized. Like you got to know that. And then
Right.
Peyton Thorne in the fourth quarter, same scenario. It's 5 minutes something to go in the game. You're across the 30-yard line now. You have a shot to score quickly. We still got 3 timeouts at that point and get the
Mhm.
ball back. Coach calls another deep shot. If you get a certain coverage, he wants you to take the shot. But if you don't, he wants you to check the ball down. And there
Right.
again, pre-snap, we just take the snap and we just chunk it right into double coverage and it gets intercepted again. So those things, we got to stop losing football games on situational stuff. We got to hone in on that stuff weekly and daily because you can't expect guys to just know it. We just got to make
Yeah.
sure that we emphasize it. Even if they get bored and tired of listening to it, we got to make sure we do that.
We talked about it last week, and it felt like it was very much on display this past weekend that this refusal to deviate from this system is doing more harm than good. I mean, when I saw Robbie get the start, and then on the broadcast, they said Hugh was calling the plays when Robbie was in, that Hugh is calling Robbie's package. So I kind of thought it was what we suspected. Maybe we go with him for the half, and just see, like we said, Ole Miss's defense is solid, but they're not top of the pack.
Yeah.
They're somewhere in the middle. So Robbie actually could potentially have some success, specifically with his ability to extend plays and be dynamic outside of the pocket. And maybe if you stick with him for a half, he can settle into a little bit of a rhythm in the passing game. Second series, Peyton comes in. Like, I don't even understand the method or the logic. It feels random. I know it isn't, but it feels random because the purpose doesn't seem to be materializing. If you do think you have an edge with one versus the other and against whatever coverage you're seeing, it's not working. So I don't understand the refusal to just stick with one of them when you're not having success doing it the way you're doing it.
And it's just like what you were saying, though. It doesn't only frustrate the quarterbacks when they're probably going in and out, but it probably frustrates the offensive line and the receivers
Yeah.
because you can't really get into continuity with one quarterback because you got to catch balls from two different guys. So you don't know which one's throwing you the ball in the game, when you're out there. So it can be a lot of different confusion. And in order to cut down on confusion, what you have to do is do what? Maybe limit the playbook.
Yeah.
Maybe tone it down a little bit. Maybe tone down the in and out of the quarterbacks going in and out. I'm okay with you if you just say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a half, and I'm gonna give you a half,"
I'm
and
the same way.
that way, at least from a quarterback standpoint that I don't have to look to the sideline wondering if they're gonna waive me to come out of the game or
Yeah.
I'm going in the next series or not. I know I got this whole half, and then the other guy know I got this whole half. So that way you
Mhm.
know what's going on. And then once you see both of them play a whole half of football, I think then you make a decision to say which one has better chemistry with the guys. And
Yeah.
this is what we're gonna go with moving forward because we're heading into week 8 and
9.
yeah, week 9 and this still seems to be an issue, and it's just tough to try to get into the minds of those kids and the minds of what's going on here because everyone wants to know what's the end goal. So if
Yeah.
we're rotating quarterbacks, why are we rotating quarterbacks? Like, what is the end goal we're trying to achieve with two quarterbacks? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I've hardly ever seen a two quarterback system work. I've seen it be efficient a little bit, but for it's
Yeah.
like working, it's very, very hard.
Right. And at this magnitude, like, we're rotating all the time. Like, at least in week 1, it was kind of a joke, but it was like Robbie comes in the red zone, like that. It was,
Right, red zone Robbie.
or like, yeah, exactly, or like what Taysom Hill is for the Saints. Like, you
Mhm.
can kind of see the imprint of what he's there to do and how things change. I realize we're beating a dead horse here, but it continues to show itself and be the story of the game week in and week out. But honestly, while the quarterback situation is glaring and everything comes off of it, the offense as a whole needs to be a lot better. I mean, these receivers
Right.
are struggling to create any separation. I mean, I will give that. The offensive line at times have had issues with protection. Alignment hasn't been top. Like, it's just as a whole, the offensive side of the ball, and then you throw in some penalties in there, whether it's illegal substitution or false start or whatever. It is hard to win ball games when you have this many things going wrong, but by week 9, I just expected some of that to have been fine tuned or adjusted. You know what's also confusing? The last 2 minutes of the game, when we drive down, we hit Rivaldo for 2 completions and score. Why can we do that in the last 2 minutes? I say that in so many games I watch. Teams look so good in 2 minute drills, and I'm like, where the frick has this been the entire time?
Well, one thing is you said the 2-minute drill is kinda like up-tempo offense. A lot of times, guys feel better in an up-tempo offense because
Right.
it takes out a lot of thinking, and then
Yes.
defenses can't dial up certain blitzes because you
Hmm.
are going fast, and they know that they pretty much play zone most of the time, and if they're gonna go to man, they immediately gotta line up in it because you're going fast.
Right.
Tempo is what we all thought that this football team was gonna do this year. We started out the first game against UMass with it, and then once we did a little bit against Sanford, but then once we got to the SEC schedule, it's almost like we backtracked and said we're gonna get away from it. And I'm
Hmm.
not sure if the reason is because we got a little thin on the defensive line, and coach may feel like, okay, if we're gonna go tempo, then we got to get first downs. Because if we're gonna go tempo and we're 3 and out, now we immediately put our defense back out there on the field, and these guys hadn't got a rest yet. So that's the only logic. But I think the quarterbacks operate better in tempo. I think
Same.
overall they do. I would like to see us get more of the tight ends involved early in the game. We got
Hmm.
Rivaldo Fairweather, who's a huge talent. Also got Brandon Frazier, Tyler Fromm. If you're struggling outside to get guys involved in the game, then work your tight ends over the middle. We're a really good football team running the ball. So guess what?
Yeah.
Linebackers are going to flow. Get these guys involved in some nakeds and some bootlegs where they faking play action. They're getting outside the pocket where they can feel a little bit more comfortable. Change the pocket for these guys. Make defenses have to guess where they're going to be at. And tight ends help open up everything on the outside. And some of these outside receivers, once they get in the game, at that standpoint, I think they need to touch the ball early in the games to make them feel like they're a part of the game plan. Whether
Yeah.
that's a hitch, whether that's a slant, whether that's a curl, whether that's a now route, which is what we call a bubble, or a wide receiver screen. There's things that we can do to get them involved early in the game that doesn't have to be all the way down the field. And the quarterback doesn't have to hold the ball. So if we can do those type of things, now you get your offense into a flow because everybody feels like they're a part of the game.
Yeah.
And any play can come to them. So we've got to do those type of things if we want to be successful, and that's where I think it starts and stops because we're probably going to be without our center this week. And again,
Avery Jones.
Avery Jones got hurt last week in that game against Ole Miss, and then Connor Lew, who's a true freshman, who's really good. He's really
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
and
considering he did
yeah,
pretty well.
yeah, for a 17-year-old, he's really good, and he comes into the game, and he does an outstanding job, and
Mhm,
he'll be prepared this week with a whole full week to practice and get prepared, and I think the offensive line, for the most part, they do a really good job coming off the ball, running the ball. Now we
mhm.
gotta utilize that in our play action pass,
Yep.
is sell that and get guys open because we got to stop losing yards on first downs. Like we start the game off, we run
That kills.
Robbie on the quarterback, lose 4 yards immediately. We just got to get into some flow and get into some rhythm, and it helps when you slow down playing quarterbacks in and out.
Yeah. I think the tempo conversation is probably gonna continue until we see it a little bit more, especially given what the last 2 minutes looked like you said.
But I also need them to look themselves in the mirror. When it's 3rd and 17, you can't get
Yes.
penalized and give up an automatic first down. When it's 3rd and
100%.
22, 3rd and 22 in your head as a defensive player, you have to think like, okay, here comes draw, here comes screen, here comes something that they're going to try to get guys in front of them to try to get into a field goal range or, you know, not take a shot down deep because they know that you're going to be backed up,
Right.
defensively. So they give up 21 yards on a rush when it's 3rd and 22. You got to be more sound. The next one, Eugene Asante, love him, great player, plays with a heart on his shoulders. You got
Mhm.
to get your head up when you're making a tackle on the
Yeah.
sideline. You got to get your head up. It's about to be
Yeah.
3rd and goal, and we hit a guy out of bounds, we give him another 15-yard penalty. So it's
Yep.
just things like that. That defensively, although we play great at times, we play with energy. We gotta stop it on the third and longs in those
Mhm.
situations that hurt us at certain times where we get those penalties that just hurt you big time.
Yeah, big time. Look, this game this week is very winnable. I don't mean any disrespect because certainly who are we to point the finger? But Mississippi State has problems. I covered them a few weeks ago. They are trying to figure stuff out as well. They may be saying the same thing about us. That's fair. But I'm just saying, when I look at these two, when I look at the matchup, when I look at the talent and the current status, this is Auburn's for the taking. And that is agreed upon. We're a 6.5 point favorite in this one as of right now. But Mississippi State, there's a lot of question marks with them. So as we kind
Mhm,
of scout our upcoming opponent, we don't really know the status of Will Rogers, their quarterback, who, to be completely honest, is in the wrong system this year. I mean, like, this roster was built around the air raid and what Mike Leach had established during his time there and had certainly become successful with it. This was a
mhm,
high powered offense. They were putting up crazy yards every single game. Will Rogers is now top four, top three in like every passing category in SEC history. Like,
mhm.
that system was built for him. And then they bring in a guy that wants to do more RPO. They want to change a lot of his mechanics, a lot of how he's seeing and operating the game. And this is a guy in his senior year that was brought in to do something totally different. So
Yeah.
it has not worked for Will Rogers this year, but his health the past couple of weeks has been in question. The Western Michigan game a couple weeks ago, I actually had that game. He went out in the fourth quarter and we did not know why. We couldn't tell what had happened, and the school declined to say anything, but he went to the locker room, came back out without pads on, and was done. They had the bye week the week after, and then this past weekend against Arkansas, he was unavailable. So Mike Wright gets the start, transfer from Vanderbilt. Definitely more of a dual threat guy. He's definitely very comfortable taking off and scrambling. He had 60 rushing yards this past week, along with 85 through the air. He had a touchdown and an interception. So definitely not the most efficient passer. That's definitely Will's specialty. It's eerily similar to our story. You got a guy that you expect to be the more pocket passer guy, and the other one who wants to take off and run. What they do with the quarterback position is kind of a question right now. Their running back, Woody Marks, has been banged up pretty much all season, but he's dynamic when healthy, as is Tulu Griffin, who's kind of their do it all guy. He's their punt returner. He's a stud. So this is definitely a game that Auburn can and should come away with a win and set up this last third of season well. We have very winnable games ahead of us, and you want to see us take advantage of that.
First of all, third down conversions for Auburn's offense.
Yeah.
Right now we're
Ugh.
33% on third down conversions. That's bad. But a lot of that, Taylor, comes because we're in third and long situations. We're not
Right.
in those third and two, third and three situations where you can utilize the RPO game to have a higher percentage. Our passing game is at 151 average per game. Rushing the ball, we 186. That's pretty good. But what has to change is explosive plays.
Mm,
Like, we don't have enough explosive plays. Jarquez Hunter had a 53-yard run touchdown last week. Just off of inside zone play. Guys blocked it really well. Once he got past the linebackers, there's no safeties. He was gone. We just need more explosive plays. And it doesn't
yeah.
mean you have to hit your head on the goalpost every time with a huge play. What I'm saying is 20 yards or more is an explosive play.
Okay.
How many times have we had 20 yards or more of explosive plays this season? We haven't had a lot, so whether it's
And it
down
makes a
to
world of difference.
yeah, it makes a huge difference. So we have to find out how to get explosive plays offensively uh, with what we have going on. And they can be there because we run the ball really well.
Yeah.
Defensively, just continue to try to hold in, but stop making the bad plays at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Like, I love your effort. I like the way you fight, but don't get those costly penalties. We
Yeah.
may win some ugly games here down the stretch. We do understand that, the whole goal is to try to get to a bowl game now. And like you said, our next 4 games lines up for us to take them one game at a time before we play the Iron Bowl at home. But you gotta make sure in this game that you come out and you play extremely hard. There's been a 3-2 game before between Auburn and Mississippi State. You don't want no 3-2 game, but
I mean,
this is
they're coming off a 7-3.
right. They're coming off a 7-3 game, but you're also playing against a quarterback. If Will Rogers doesn't play, I think if Will plays, it helps us. Just because
Okay.
he's more of a passer, he's not the threat of a dual threat quarterback.
Mhm.
Dart hurt us last week because Dart could do what? He could run and
Run.
throw.
Yeah.
So this other quarterback, Mike Wright, he kind of fits their system a little bit of what they want to do, just run the football and win ugly games.
Yeah.
Will Rogers wants to throw the ball around and let's put up some points. So it's
Yeah.
two different mindsets. And I think for us, it works better for us to play against another running team because we're predominantly a running team and we can win those type of games, 21-17, 17-14 right now until we can get, where we're trying to get to. But there has to be a major, major difference this week in how we approach it offensively because now
Mhm.
you have 5 games left and you can't do the same thing in the next 5 games that we've done in the first 7.
Look, I do think that Mississippi State's defense has certainly been their bright spot, and they have one
Oh,
of
yeah.
the best linebacker duos in the country in Bookie Watson and Jet Johnson. We talked to the coaches about them a couple weeks ago, and their coaches know that those two are probably generational dudes for that program. They fly around and they are smart, cerebral players with a lot of experience. So you got to be keyed in on them. And their D line has been solid. They've just been really banged up this year. Terry Russell was helped off the field against Arkansas, and he's been playing because his brother Demonte Russell has been
Yeah.
out hurt. So there's just been a lot of moving pieces for them. But when healthy, they actually have a very effective front. So from the running perspective, you are going to have a very physical. They are big too, and then a linebacker tandem that is very cerebral. Like I said, great football IQ. So it will be challenging. I just think that
Mhm.
this one is very much in our favor, and it's at home. So you got
Yeah.
to come away with this win.
Overall, though, playing against this Mississippi State defense who only gives up 37% on third downs, and we're only getting 33% on third downs, this
Yes.
is gonna be a matchup for us offensively because Imma tell you right now, what they're going to do is try to stop us running the football, and they're gonna
100%.
force us to throw the ball. That's what they did to Arkansas last week against KJ Jefferson. They
Mm-hmm.
loaded up the box, and they forced them to throw the football, and Arkansas was very inefficient doing that. So,
Yeah.
Auburn has gotta be looking at the same tape and saying, "Expect the same type of defense.
Yeah.
Expect them to come in here, 8-man boxes, and say, 'Hey, we're gonna force you to throw the football.'"
We're
And
going to force you to do the
right,
thing we know you're not good at.
right. So we have to expect that and be prepared. So I do expect this team to come out this week, though, understanding we lost 4 in a row, and you're just thirsty and hungry for a win. This fan base needs a win. This football team needs a win. This coaching staff needs a win. I'm telling you, Taylor, when you win, food tastes better. Your sleep is better. Like I'm
Yeah.
telling you, like the smile, your life just feels better when you lose and you lost 4 weeks in a row, it is extremely, extremely difficult. So the leaders on this football team has got to step up this week and make sure these guys honed in and turn the table.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine how the mental fortitude it takes to keep putting yourself through it and subject yourself to
Mhm.
the practices, the workouts, the games, only to have disappointing results that, yeah, like you said, make it hard to sleep at night. I saw a video at the end of the game of JJ Pegues waiting around to kind of
Oh,
talk to
yeah.
everybody. It was a really sweet exchange. He was telling everybody like, man, I miss y'all. Like it was very sweet. There was nothing like chippy about it or anything. He genuinely seems like he enjoyed his time at Auburn. He needed to find a better situation, which you respect. But you could hear Luke Deal talking to him, and he said at the end of the game, like, man, we're struggling over here. And it's hard to like know that they're feeling a little depleted, at this point. Another game where it was right there and you just feel like you can't get anything going, and then the result is going to be the same. So they
Yeah.
need it. I agree with you. I think everyone needs it. I think it would be uh, a real boost to have a win in Jordan Hare against an SEC West team
Right.
nonetheless. So Hopefully they're able to get it done. There's a couple other notable games this weekend, one of which I thought was last week, but I don't know what day it is anymore. So whatever. The cocktail party is this weekend. Georgia,
Cocktail
Florida.
party.
I wish we had a game called Cocktail Party.
Shit,
Um,
we got the one called the Iron Bowl.
yeah, true that.
Except
And
for it's
that
not.
one leads you to cocktails anyway. So, um, do you think Georgia is capable of slipping this week?
No, no, I
No?
don't.
Okay.
I think I really
Even
think
without Brock Bowers.
I think they feed off that type of stuff. I think
They do.
Kirby is a guy with an edge to him. Like that's just the way he coaches. And you have to understand this is a roster that they can plug and play at certain positions. Now Brock Bowers is a one in a generation type of tight end,
That's true.
but there are some tight ends that's on that team that can probably be starters at other SEC schools.
Yeah, I
So
know.
and they had 2 weeks to prepare. So it's not like I would have said yes if it was only 1 week to prepare. The fact that they had a bye week to get those other guys acclimated and then know who they're gonna try to get the ball to, I
Very
think
true.
that helps Georgia in this game.
Has there been a team this year? Let me ask you both. A team that has had a lot of success that has
Mm.
surprised you, like you're surprised to see how good they've been this year, and a team that has not lived up to expectation this year.
Oh yeah, Tennessee rings a bell, not living up to
Okay.
expectations. You
Disappointing
know,
loss for
yeah,
them
you
this
and
past
Bama
weekend.
20-7, and I don't know what Coach Heupel was thinking on some of those plays going for it at
On fourth,
4th
man.
down, close to the midfield, giving Alabama a short field.
Yeah.
And when your defense was making it hard on them, having to drive the distance, like punt that ball, man. You're up. You're
Agreed.
in the lead. So that would be one.
But then
US
wanted to blame officiating.
Yeah, like come
Come
on, like
on.
that can go both sides. Like USC lost to Utah with their backup at home.
Yep.
Uh, after they almost lost to Arizona. So
Yep.
to me, Lincoln Riley is a great offensive minded coach, but his defense never travels with him. Even at Oklahoma,
Mhm.
he didn't have a defense. They had
Mhm.
to outscore everybody. At USC, you're getting the same thing. You don't have a defense to stop anyone. So those two teams
Yeah.
for me have been two teams shockingly.
Also crazy, North Carolina gets upset by Virginia, the worst team in the ACC that's literally, been up against so much. And North Carolina, undefeated.
Yeah.
Drake May is a Heisman candidate. Like how that happens. That's college football for you, man. Any given week, you never know.
Washington should have lost to Arizona State, let's just be
Literally no
honest,
offensive touchdown.
like Arizona State could have kicked the field goal. They was up 7 to no, they was up, yes, 7-6. Could have kicked the field goal, made it 10-6. Washington has not
Mhm.
scored a touchdown yet. And for whatever reason, Coach Dillingham decides to call up a play on 4th and 3, and it's to the wide side of the field, and they try to call what we call a follow route, which is 5-yard in route to the field. It's a long throw, and lo and behold, they do it, and it's an interception for a touchdown, and that would win the game. Like, dude, like
Crazy.
kick field goals. Coaches have got to understand.
Get
Get
your points.
get away from analytics.
I
Analytics is
agree.
losing a lot of people games. Like,
Yeah.
get away from analytics and go with common sense stuff. Go with your points. Get your
Yeah.
points. At that point in time, Washington struggled to score. Kick the field goal. They haven't scored a
Agreed.
touchdown yet offensively. So nothing tells you to do that.
I could not agree more. That's going to do it for us here on Bleav in Everything Auburn. Thank you so much for listening and following along. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already so you'll get a notification every time we release an episode. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on Bleav's YouTube channel. We are on video every week as well. Share us on social. If you're going to be in Auburn this weekend, make sure you say hello if you see either of us. Again, I'll be on the broadcast for SEC Network. Jason killing it on his radio calls like he's been doing all season. So looking forward to being down there and then breaking it all down with you next week. Hopefully the first SEC victory is just a couple days away. So we look forward to all the action and we'll be back next week to cover it all. So enjoy the game this weekend. War Eagle.
Worry, everybody show up, be loud.
Show up, be loud.